Good afternoon. This is Brett Mason, one of the managing partners of the Breckenridge Group. I'm here with one of my other partners, Beth Nolan, to discuss kind of the hot topic of the day, and that is elections. And we're not going to tell you to vote for, so don't worry. But we thought it'd be kind of fun because our partnership is made up of a very diverse group from different ages and different stages in our life. And we kind of laughed that Beth and I are I'm probably the right-leaning one, and Beth's more the left-leaning one. But we thought just kind of talk about how markets can be affected, or are they affected by election cycles and things. We live in the greatest country in the world, and obviously the two pillars of this great American experiment is democracy and capitalism. But with that democracy comes a lot of opportunity to voice your opinion and a lot of opportunity to have different inputs and different thoughts, and we kind of live in a time that's very divisive. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that we, in terms of having clients, interacting with clients during election season, I think none of us really know what the persuasion is of the person on the other side of the table, although sometimes they make it very well known. And there is a lot of fear, regardless of the side of the spectrum that they are on, if they're right-leaning or left-leaning. But a lot of the questions I get are, what are we going to, how are we going to fare after this election? And should I sit my money on the sidelines until this election is over? And I think we go back to trying to make sure that people are staying the course and understanding about asset allocation, and reminding folks that really the market has probably baked into things already about what they think the presumed outcome of the election is going to be. And what really drives a lot of volatility in the marketplace is uncertainty.
Absolutely.
And so, if we're going down a very predictable path, chances are the market's probably baked that in, and we're not going to see a whole lot of volatility down the road.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's interesting. I get one or two calls, probably discussions a week. They bring this up, and to your point, some people act like maybe this is like the first election we've ever had, and like this is different this time, and oh my goodness, this such diametric opposite opinions on things, and really it's just sometimes it's like take a deep breath. It's okay, and to your point, coming back to the fundamentals of you're a certified financial planner, and I don't think ever in your classes do they say asset allocation, diversification, and elections.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
And so I think that's something that people need to take a deep breath on that sometimes. We actually have a slide that shows, and I think we're going to put it up on the screen, that throughout since 1935, going through the 2020s, how markets have gone up through good times and bad, through Republicans, Democrats, and I'm sure back then, as we all know, from Lincoln's time, there was definitely a big rift after the Civil War and what slavery was going to mean, and Southern versus Northern, and but the markets, they go up through history, and so I don't know if you have any comments about that, but just
they go through history, and there are certainly times along the way where we have seen big pullbacks. 9/11, the financial recession in 08 and 09. Where it is a very scary thing where you're seeing huge losses on your statement, but those are not necessarily derived because of an election, or because of an individual political figure taking the helm. It's because a lot of uncertainty happened. Things happened that we were not necessarily counting on or expecting, and that's really what drives like sharp market volatility.
Absolutely. Yeah, events, not necessarily people. Policy can obviously have an impact longer term, but to your point, sometimes the policies, they're more long-term cycles, ups and down, not, oh my goodness, this happened in this date. One of my concerns, and I think we can both agree with, is neither one of the candidates right now is talking about any kind of prudence of spending. And so that's the commonality that maybe is more policy-driven that I have concerns about is $35 trillion in debt, and both parties have helped contribute to this. That needs to be addressed, and neither party seems to want to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about our democracy, going back to your introduction of, everyone needs to participate in democracy, but the beauty, and one of the things that I learned early on in civics is the balance of power and the checks and balances that each different pillar of the government has
Right.
on each other. So one of the great things about the spending is it's not just because of the direction of where a president wants to go. It's really what Congress is going
Right.
to allow
Right.
and able to control. So having both parties represented, either a split House and Senate or a split White House that is different from Congress, really actually helps things, and is what has helped I think in most markets where we've outperformed, like it's been in those times where we've had a checks and balances.
Yeah, great point. And I think we have a slide about that as well, that you've got times Republican Democrats have gone up traditionally over the long term, but when you do have a split government, actually that is a differentiator, that when the government is split and you have one House controls the executive branch and one controls the Congress, it actually does better than if both. And I think that probably speaks to the point that I don't think any of us have a lot of faith in one party having complete control and doing things, because they tend to kind of do things that are boneheaded sometimes, and you're like, what are they doing? And we need to have that. The founding fathers had that point of, let's kind of keep each other in check and not have one party kind of running wild.
Yeah.
And I think kind of the summary we might bring up too, that we can have different opinions and we can still get along. And Beth and I have been partners for many years and a great friend. And I think that's the most important thing too, is to keep in perspective that don't let these things and the elections and the emotions of it get involved in relationships, because it's so important to remember that we're going to have different opinions, and that's what makes us great. And if we're exactly the same, then one of us is probably, could not be there.
That's right.
And so,
That's right, for sure.
So with that, we'll close. We appreciate the time, and we'll try to do more of these podcasts just to help out. And you guys have a great time, and make sure you get out and vote.
That's right.